Hello traders and welcome to today's market update. I have my camera back. I'm super excited to be here. My name is Nick and today we're going to be taking a look at the currency market together, looking for some major trading levels and potential trade setups. Let's go ahead and start with the big one. Let's take a look at Euro USD. Now Euro USD here on the 4-hour chart is starting to trade a little bit sideways. You can see if we draw our kind of horizontal lines here, you can see that we have been traveling recently in a nice little channel here, back and forth motion. Now with this, there might be some opportunities, maybe even on the intraday chart, to get involved on the short or long side playing these bounces, right? You can see down here we have had a historical level of support, very strong bounces off of these levels. So if price can come down into this level, we might find some sort of a bounce, some sort of confirmation could be used to enter into a trade there based on your discretion, right? So if price comes up into this area, however, we also have been seeing a lot of sell pressure in this general area, right? So we could see some sort of reaction to this zone once more and find some sort of sell pressure in that area, right? A lot of times when markets are chopping back and forth, they will continue to do so for quite some time before they actually break out and trade some other direction, right? So here on Euro USD, we might have an opportunity to continue to trade that sideward kind of action that we are seeing. Next up is going to be GBP USD. And if we grab the daily chart here right now, you can see that we are starting kind of to break this downward trend structure. Now, I do want to point out, again, this trend line that we've pointed out a few times. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this black. And you can see we've broken out of this trend line here, right? We've definitely broken some sort of significant resistance that we had. A huge sell trend was going on GBP USD for quite some time, but we actually recently broke out. You can see we closed above that level and we saw some continuation here. So now the question is, are we going to get some sort of pullback? And if we do see a pullback, you know, where could we potentially trade this thing? Now, what you see is we have a couple zones here to look for. And if you are an intraday trader or at least a shorter term trader, if you're looking for short term swings, some sort of pullback here, maybe to one of these levels here, could actually yield some sort of nice little bounce opportunities, right? So these levels here are significant, and you might ask, why are they significant? You can see we've actually had a couple bounces off of those zones, and a lot of times multiple bounces on a significant zone will tell us that there's a good chance that we see the market respond to those levels and potentially bounce off of them. So going forward, we might have some opportunities here as well as here on GBP USD, looking at that daily chart. Next up is USD JPY, which has been making a move to the upside. You can see a clean movement upwards here. We also have seen some breakage of structure here. You can see if we even draw this trend line here, we've recently broken through this level, found buyer support. We actually gapped down this week and found buyers step in and push price right back up to the highs, and seeing some continuation there. Not too much more to say here. I would say that we have some opportunities, and if price gets up to here, we might see some sort of respondence from the sellers here in this area, as price has been bullish for quite some time. We also have some zones up in this area as well. Right, so this area here as a zone might hold as some sort of sell pressure area where we could find sellers hanging out, waiting for price to get stretched up into that zone, find some sort of sell pressure. In fact, if we draw a Fibonacci retracement, let's see what we get here on USD JPY. You can see right around 61.8, right above that level right there, looks really clean as a potential level for sellers to be waiting at. Let's go ahead and move on to Brent crude today. Again, we had a massive gap here happen on oil, right? We had a major move to the upside here on oil this week. You can see I'm looking at a 1-hour chart. We gapped up like crazy and price is starting to pull back. Now we have found some sort of bullish support in this area. However, you can see price is still working to kind of try to find its way to break through that level. But if we do break that level, it's a good chance that we have a continuation to the downside and fill some of this gap, right? A lot of times the market will like to fill gaps that it has left. WTI crude is going to be next, which is a similar story, right? You can see there's our level of support, price bouncing off of this level, holding it for now. But if we do break that level, you can see that is a significant zone due to the past level of resistance here, now acting as support. You can see if price breaks through that zone, we might see a continuation down to this level. It's not out of the question that if that breaks, then there would be a nice little flush there and some opportunities in the intraday level if you even trade gaps. XAU USD is going to be our next one, which has been trading sideways more recently. But I do want to point out this long-term trend here that we've been talking about. You can see price is currently responding to that trend. You can see we had a bounce here, we had a bounce here, and now we are seeing some sort of a bounce here, but we failed initially. The thing is, we might see price continue in the upwards direction just because of the overall strength on this currency pair, right? The overall trend here is very, very strong, and it's not out of the question that we've seen a bounce there. We've seen a bounce there at this significant level. We got some sort of a pullback off of the highs. We might be headed back to retest those areas, especially in a choppy market environment. Even if we trade sideways, it's not out of the question that we see a move to the upside and we start to kind of chop around at the top before making any further decisions. Next up is going to be USD Swiss. Now USD Swiss, I wanted to bring this up because you can see we just broke through a major level of kind of resistance, right? This area has been holding as a level of sell zone, right? As a sell zone level, you can see price rejected there, rejected there, rejected there, rejected there, and now we've actually seen some sort of close above it. Now the question will be, from here, if price can stay above this is a daily chart, if that can stay above this level here or even break through that recent high right here, that'll be a major level for buyers to say, okay, we've broken through this zone of resistance. And then we won't see any sort of major resistance, at least it's not likely we'll see any major resistance until we get up to levels like here, right? This level here, historically, you can see that this zone up here, we might have a nice little continuation up to that point, which is another move on the intraday level of, 35, 40 pips. So not bad at all. GBP JPY is our next one. You can see this one has also broken trend structure. You can see we had a very strong downtrend, but we did get that massive kind of bullish engulfing there to the upside. We did close above the trend line and have seen continuation since. With that said, there are some levels to look out for. You can see prices just coming shy of this area here, which was a level of support, then a level of resistance, and sellers found a rally there. So as price comes into that area, we might see some sort of responding action. Now, if we draw a Fibonacci retracement, you can see that in that general area, we have the 50% retracement as well. So that's something to at least look for if you trade Fibonacci retracements. Might be something to use in confluence with other factors. GBP Swiss is going to be our next one. And you can see this one as well, breaking structure. All the GBP pairs really making a bullish move recently. A lot of people were bearish on the pound, and a lot of times when a lot of people are one way, a lot of people are wrong, right? So the market rallied the other direction. You can see, in fact, we saw a break of structure here, right? That trend line that we drew, we saw a break of structure. We saw a short retest. We put in a higher low, right? And then we saw a shoot up and a continuation to the upside. So this is showing us that buyers are very, very strong on GBP Swiss and GBP pairs across the board. They're still holding their levels, they're still pushing price up, and they're still buying into this move to the upside. So for the time being, still bullish on the pound, and it will be interesting to see if we get any sort of pullback, but I don't see any beautiful structures here. I guess the closest thing would be this level here that we are just recently breaking through on GBP Swiss. If you get maybe a minor pullback on the daily, or I'm sorry, on the 1 hour or 4 hour chart, you could look for some short-term opportunities with confluence. GBP Canadian is going to be our last one for the day, guys, and if we're taking a look here at the daily chart, you can see we chopped around here at the bottom for a little bit. We did find buyers and sellers in this general area, but you can see something kind of interesting. You can see that we actually have an inverted head and shoulders here, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and then a reversal, right? Breaking this neckline, which is huge, and it could signal the sign of a bigger trend to the upside on GBP Canadian. Going forward, we did have a gap on the 1 hour chart. You can see if we zoom in, we did fill that gap for the most part, right? Gap down, price came up, and then filled that gap. A lot of times what we do see, however, on a gap fill location is that price will come up, it'll fill the gap, and then it will reverse and find resistance in that area. So you can see we've already seen some sort of rejection. The question will be, can we get some sort of continuation? And if so, we might be headed back down to this area or even lower down to that major level of now potential support here. Guys, thanks so much for joining me, and we'll catch you on the next market update.